work has to be done on both sides. Just because he has a desire to be quiet does not mean that's good for the relationship. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Relationship Theory. I am your co-host, Tom Bilyeu. I'm here with my beautiful wife, whose hair, by the way, is looking very amazing. Lisa Bilyeu. Hello, my dear.
Hello, people. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. This is from Facebook, and this comes from Efrat Lev. Lots of love to both of you from Israel. Question, my beloved husband of 14 years is a man of few words, and yet I find that so much growth is born out of deep conversation. How do I encourage him to be more verbal? And are there other ways to communicate meaningfully?
Wow. Well, there are certainly ways to communicate meaningfully. Verbally is maybe a very different question.
Do you remember the stats from the female brain at all on the amount of words a man says a day versus the amount of words a woman says?
It's roughly 3x for women.
Right. So like at least knowing that really helped me initially.
3 times. I'm not supposed to say 3x. You guys are really worried about that.
Not worried, just it can be confusing.
Gotcha.
So 3 times the amount.
Yeah.
So the second I heard that and understood, I don't remember the stats, but like why the brain is developed in a woman and the way that she wants to verbally communicate versus a man. Like I think that's really important, understanding the base. So it's like I don't judge you for being more quiet than me. I just embrace, okay, well, I'm going to speak 3 times more than he is today. So this is part of my 3 times.
Yeah, it's so interesting given what we do now, because I find myself in certain circumstances being highly verbal, and anybody watching on Facebook or YouTube, that's how they think of me. And what they don't realize is that as soon as this is done, I'm going to run off set, put my headphones on, and get back to work and not want to talk.
Why do you think I love doing this? I get to sit here and talk to my husband for an hour. Not just a hat rack.
Not just a hat rack. And so there are times, especially because of the amount that I have to communicate to the team, there are times on the weekends where literally I don't want to say anything. And it's like prying words out of me to get me to talk. So again, I'm going to come back to work has to be done on both sides. Just because he has a desire to be quiet does not mean that's good for the relationship. And if you have a woman who really needs to process verbally, needs to either process herself, and so he needs to find ways to really signal. And I remember, I think I've told you this before, but I may not have, or you may not remember. The reason I say right during people's you'll be talking, right, is because when I was younger, my mom used to go crazy because I would just sit and listen. I wouldn't say a word. It didn't even occur to me to verbalize externally. I'm listening, I'm taking it in, I am understanding everything. I just didn't think to verbalize. And
you didn't think of that it was an acknowledgement of what is being said.
So now it's like, I remember somebody, this was a long time ago, but somebody was like, you say right a lot. And I was like, yeah, like I do that because my poor mother like had to literally train me to externalize something so that she knew that I was listening. So understanding that you need to find out from your partner what they need in the communication. How do they want you to nod more? Don't lie. If you don't agree, don't nod. But if you agree, nod if that's useful to them. Say something, verbalize, have a word of affirmation, whatever it is that's real to you and they will take as like useful communication. And then you have to push yourself. If you're like just innately, you want to be quiet and you want to go internal, but the other person needs that, then you've got to really push. And then what you've done a very good job of is there are times where you will be very verbose. You'll talk, you'll say all the things that you need. And as long as I'm really engaged with you, even though I'm not saying a lot, that it's still a very meaningful exchange for the two of us. And so one thing I've just learned to do is to, when you've like really said something, I will reiterate what you've said so that you understand, not repeat, reiterate. So if I'm understanding, like this is what you're saying, so that you know I understand. And I think that can be very useful for somebody who is intrinsically sort of quiet.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, is that everybody has their own way of needing to communicate. So for her, if it really is, she needs verbal communication back if she's having a problem or she wants to discuss something and he's not. Like, I would say be honest about that. And that's one thing that we've done is let's say I've got a problem or I've got an issue and I just want to talk about it. And let's say I'm emotional. You'll say to me, all right, babe, what are you looking for in this discussion? And I remember the first time you did it, I'm like, this isn't the time to ask me. Like, I'm all upset. And, right? But it's such the perfect question because sometimes, and I don't know if you guys at home feel this, but sometimes it's you're saying something just because you want to get it off your chest. You're not actually looking for someone to fix it. In fact, you just want them to shut up. You don't want them to give you advice that you may know is right. Sometimes you just need to get it off your chest. And so sometimes that's me. I just need to get it out. And I know that right now my feelings are petty. So I don't want your advice because you're going to say, Lisa, you're being petty. I know that. So I go, okay, I just need to get off my chest. So just listen. And that's what exactly you do. You say, what are you looking for? And I'm like, I just need to talk. And you're like, cool. And you'll sit there and you'll nod and you won't really say much and I'll just let it out. And then I'll go, okay, like I know this isn't right and we should talk about it again in a few hours once I've calmed down, but thank you for listening. And then we'll walk away and you've barely said 2 words to me. But that's actually what I'm looking for. Other times it's, I really need your advice. Like, here's the situation. I really need your advice. What would you do? So kind of asking you the question of what I'm looking for, I think is important because if you're not typically a verbal communicator, then I think it's the other person's responsibility, partly responsible for saying, this is what I need from you right now. So even if you're not normally verbally, like communicative, is that right? Mm-hmm. Communicative. I get that, but this is what I really need.